The reason I'm changing the architecture from documentary or existing recognizable building to abstract, because I'm not documenting this building. I'm concentrating on the light, color and space. And for this, the architecture is the place where I can find it. So I'm not actually photographing the architecture, I'm photographing the concept of architecture, what it's making to light, color and space. What I worked in Istanbul, and the project I'm working right now in Italy, the work has changed a lot. So there has been more, given more weight to the light and space. And then using the historical architecture, I had created completely new language, which is different than making the space completely abstract. I would say that nowadays the way I approach to historical building, I deconstruct the building, I photograph it in sections, and then first deconstruct and then reconstruct, and then change so you have this feeling of the space, and there are lots of, in historical architecture, lots of details that still stay in the image, but there's many different layers through this process of breaking the space and putting it up together. Shortly, the main reason is I want to avoid documentary architectural photography. What is the most creative city in Europe? I think it's very difficult to say because it's a personal question. How people find, where they find inspiring environment for the person who works. So in this question there are two sides. So one side is that where the artists find the most inspiration or influence to be able to find a nice place to work, or then how general the cities are creative for also the audience. I live in Berlin, and Berlin is at the moment quite close to be quite a creative city, but today there isn't any, it's so much scattered that there isn't any particular capital of contemporary art. Yes, I would to advise Italian artists go to Berlin. I think the first artist would have to ask herself or himself that what does he want to do, and depending on the subject and what the artist is doing, Berlin is quite easy to approach because it's still reasonable way of living, and there are already quite many Italian artists living in Berlin, so you have a small community that would help you, and it's certainly much easier than in London or in New York. But to me, Italian culture is really fascinating. I'm quite new to Italian culture in a deeper sense. I've been working 10 years in Spain, using lots of Spanish architecture, and always have skipped Italy. Maybe it was because of there was so much historical architecture, and little by little I got to know the Italian contemporary architecture, and then more of the Italian culture. And for me, the different layers of the antique, and then the Roman times, and then the before the Second World War time, and after the Second World War time, and for me it's absolutely fascinating how big modern culture country Italy has been, and the change to today is quite dramatic. You still have the same, say in the fashion you have still you're really good, but then in contemporary art it has gone somewhere else, thinking of the creative power that was in the 60s, 70s, and also the movie industry. So basically waiting for the new coming from the renaissance of the modernist in Italy.